clever. That's the thing. They think they're clever. They think they're really good at the game. And you look at their perks at the end and they'll be like, windows of opportunity, dead hard, you know, decisive strike. Take off your perks and then bully the killer. I just realised I might be the most killer-sided survivor main ever. So, I'm a survivor main. I have over 6,000 hours in the game, and I'd say 98% of that is on survivor. I saw this video pop up by Refined, and I thought it'd be fun to react to it from the survivor's point of view. Now, this is my very first ever reaction video, so go easy on me. And there's probably going to be a lot of swearing, so if you're not up for that, I'd leave now. I hope you enjoy. I'm so anxious about this, so please don't come for me.
This video is for those who feel like the killer role in Dead by Daylight is a forgotten role. A role that requires absolutely everything from you with very little respect for doing anything. The killer role in Dead by Daylight is supposed to be the power role. The role that allows you to take the helm of a powerful killer whose survivors should think twice about belittling at every given opportunity. It is supposed to grant you the freedom and fun of having power and control over the realm. Only for 90% of the killer roster in Dead by Daylight, it's anything but that. What is...
He is absolutely right. Like, unless you're playing Nurse, Carnegie, sorry. Obviously his name wrong and people are like, it's Carnegie? Whatever. Okay. Unless you're playing Nurse, Carnegie, Blight, you're gonna really struggle in Dead by Daylight these days.
Good gamers, it's Refined, and I am back today to talk about the current state of Dead by Daylight in regards to killer and why this is a huge problem. Oh, by the way, no, if you are an exclusive survivor main, this video will not be for you, so before you decide to try and rage bait in the comments, think about it twice.
I'm not exclusively a survivor main, I do play some killer, but I would say percentage-wise, you would absolutely have to class me as a survivor main.
Which leads me on to state that yes, I do actually play both roles. My stats are public and people can see clearly. I play around 60% killer and 40% survivor, so I believe this gives me a fairer take on things. I am a P100 vecna main, often recited as the vecna guy in DBD, with over 200 plus videos on him, and we are the current world record holder of 170 vecna wins in a row as him, as well as loads of stuff for our amazing lich. I make
That is some very impressive numbers, can I just say? Well done to you.
Videos that educate and also entertain, and lately I have started to voice my opinion here and there because, as many know, DBD is not in the best place right now and arguably hasn't been for the longest time. I am going to start by saying something that, if you agree with, please consider joining us on Discord and Twitch because you will find an immense amount of support and like-minded friends. We have one of the best communities, so you will surely be welcomed. The message is, if you love playing killer or have ever loved playing killer, but in recent days you just can't play it anymore or you cannot bring yourself to play at all, you are not alone. There is such a phenomenon as killer anxiety, a topic I have covered in recent videos where a lot of people will load up DBD with intentions to play some killer, only to get to the main menu and stare into the abyss.
He is 100% right. There is no doubt about it. I personally have killer anxiety. The reason I play so much Survivor is because I genuinely have killer anxiety. It's hard to explain if you've never experienced it, because I know some people don't get anxiety at all, but it's pressing the ready up button and thinking, oh fuck, what's going to happen now? And he was like, oh well, it's just Survivor's teabag and it's just this. No, it's not. It's the thought of the people laughing at you behind the scene, knowing fine well that they're more skilled or outperk you, and there's nothing you can do about it, and it's humiliating, whether it's a person on the other side of the internet or a person sat in your room making fun of you. It's the same thing. It's the same feeling.
Wanting to play, but fearing the worst. What is there to fear? Let's go into that point first. The killer role right now, as stated before, is a shit show of requirements. I will say, I do believe the killer role should be harder than Survivor, because you're naturally the solo player who has to stop the team of survivors. However, there is a difference between a slightly harder role and an oppressive role at that. What do I mean by oppressive? Well, take these into consideration. Survivors in the Big 25 have access to a range of oppressive perks, ranging from second chances to chase extenders and ways to pick yourself up in a matter of seconds. These are oftentimes coined handholds because they require the survivor to barely commit to doing anything to get value out of their perks.
The second chance perk in the game is ridiculous. You can do everything right as a killer, absolutely everything. And I've done this. I don't use second chance perks very often, if at all. Maybe off the record before it was killed. If you play killer and you're going against someone with several second chance perks, you have downed that person technically like 4 or 5 times, yet because they've got decisive strike, dead hard, there's 2 extra downs that you've had to get on that one survivor, and then they'll still teabag you at the exit gate as if you haven't already caught them 4 times. It's like, come on, use your logic.
Whereas in stark contrast, killer perks or meta killer perks always involve you needing to hit something deeper, such as getting downs and hooks. Survivors who cry about killers running 4 slowdowns are fundamentally wrong and are simply crying because of a skill issue. A killer can only get value from slowdown if they win their chases. For example, Surge requires you to down a survivor and be within the distance of a gen to cause it to explode.
See, with the 4 slowdowns, I think it depends on the killer. If you were going against a Nurse or a Blight or a Karniki with 4 slowdowns, it's just absolutely over the top, ridiculous. They don't need it. Then it is so frustrating as survivor. But if you were going against a Trapper with 4 slowdowns, it's a completely different story. So I think it's very killer specific to the frustration level from the survivor as to whether it is over the top to run 4 slowdown or not.
And regress. Pain Resonance requires you to win your chase, pick up and hook the survivor on a specific hook to get value, which is only used 4 times. This goes for Grim Embrace as well. Eruption only works if you kick a generator and then proceed to win a chase. These are some examples of why survivors crying helps nothing.
He's absolutely right. 1000% again. He's making some very good points. That the killer does have to earn it. No matter what the survivor says, the killer has to down you and they have to hook you for most of these perks to work, or at least down you at the very least. Which means the killer won. But yet the killer never wins in this game.
Can also run full chase builds and end chases very quickly, but still gens can go faster than you can. This doesn't help the fact that when survivors are in comms, they can debunk your build in seconds. A lot of things with killer require you to have an element of surprise, which a survivor who is playing with friends can destroy in nothing. Take Bamboozle for example. If a killer brings Bamboozle to block vaults after going through them, this can catch a survivor off guard and cause them to improvise quickly in the moment, leading to good pressure for the killer. If that first chase was at the start of the game, at Shack for example, and other survivors were not close enough to see Bamboozle, they wouldn't know you still have a chance at getting value from it later in the game because the other survivors will not be aware. However,
this also works with undetectable. If I'm in a swift with at least one other person and I know the killer's undetectable, or even if I don't know the killer's undetectable and I say, oh, the killer's going to Shack, then the person at Shack on the generator knows to look out for the killer. You lose the complete element of surprise.
if you are playing against a bunch of survivors who are communicating with each other, all it takes is for that first survivor to call out early in the game and tell the rest of the team that the killer is running Bamboozle, which then makes the game way harder for the killer because now all the other survivors will know and will therefore work around this. The same cannot be said for the other side though. A killer is already thinking about everything. They are on their own. And a killer will not always know if a survivor has Deliverance, for example, if they actually do have Dead Hard, or if they have Decisive Strike. Yes, there are ways you can take guesses, but sometimes it doesn't work out and that creates tension. They could even have Conviction and Soul Guard, and even if you think about putting a tiny bit of local pressure around the downed survivor, maybe someone is hovering for a pallet or flashlight save, that survivor can surprise you very quickly, and you wouldn't see it coming because you wouldn't have known. So when you think about it, survivors get to keep the element of surprise, and they barely have to do anything to get value out of their perks, whereas killer has to go through hurdles just to get some value, which is very predictable to survivors and honestly, not that strong anyway.
Yeah, it's true. You can't even argue with what he's saying. Like it's just facts. He what he's saying is true. And if you there is a problem in Dead by Daylight where survivors literally can't see things from the other side. It's like a lack of empathy for the other side. And what they don't realize is, especially in 4-man Swift, I'm not saying every 4-man Swift, don't get me wrong. I play with my friends. I don't bully killers. I don't teabag. I don't do anything purposefully to braces to upset people, unless they've done something to me first. If they're hard tunneling me and they hit me on hook and I escape, I'm going to give them a little teabag at the exit gate. But that's very, very rare, few and far between.
So this is one part of the bigger issue, the oppressive nature of the game right now. All of this so far can contribute to killer anxiety, the fear of simply wanting to play your favorite killer, to just have to sweat your mind off and feel pulled all over the place, to see the gens go as fast as they do these days and feel like you're being mocked at all corners of the map. How are you?
And I'm going to say, oh, she's a survivor, man. No, I have a P100 Wesker. I love Wesker. I know how to hug tech. I know how to rebound. I know how to do quite a lot of stuff. But even with my knowledge of Wesker and how the game works, I still struggle to keep up with today's meta. So being a P100 or putting hours and a lot of dedication into a killer sometimes is just a joke, because survivors have a perk just to counter whatever you're doing.
Supposed to feel like the power roll when you have survivors who can all individually make 5 mistakes each and still be okay because they are held by behavior. But if you make any more than 1 or 2 mistakes, you have already basically lost. The killer roll is unforgiving.
I had a match of 2v8, and I'll see if I can find the clip, where one flashlight save happened on me, and I literally turned to my duo and said, that's it, we've lost the game.
And that was too
far. Oh, that's just lost us the game, that has. One flashlight save. I knew from that point on we'd lost the game, because you lose all your pressure.
It's one person, something I wish behavior wouldn't stay silent on, and they are, which pisses me off and brings me to the next part of this video. Behavior. Being silent is a choice. In the past so many surveys, you have failed to give killer players a voice, an outlet, a place.
This is an absolute fucking joke behavior. The fact that you do not ask killer players why they're leaving the game. Like, what are you thinking? The whole argument of is behavior killer-sided or survivor-sided just went right out the fucking window. You lost any ground you had on saying, well, it's balanced, we're both, like, we're not for anyone. No, that's utter fucking bullshit. If you cannot ask the killers why they're leaving the game, I think you don't ask because you know the answer. You know fine well the killers are going to turn around and say, well, gen speeds are too fast. Survivors have their handheld too much. The pallet density is just ridiculous. Like, you don't even need skill to play survivor in this game. And fucking yes, I said it. All you need to do is run to a pallet, pre-drop, teabag, of course. And then run to a pallet, pre-drop, teabag, of course. You know, there's no skill involved in the game. I'm not saying there's not skilled players. Of course there is. Of course there is. I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of players. I have my GRM and Aaron Teddy behind me and not Starver over there. You know, I understand there is a lot of skill, but for the majority of survivors, they don't even have to be good at the game. Put on Windows of Opportunity, which is a fucking stupid perk, by the way. If you can't get any more handheld than Windows of Opportunity. I stopped running Windows of Opportunity about 2 years ago. Because you should be learning the map. If you've been in this game for X amount of hours, you should be taking off Windows and trying to learn the map and learn the spawns if you want to get better at the game. And the people that don't, just put it on because it holds their hand. See yellow, run to fucking yellow. And that's all they have to do. See yellow, run to yellow, drop pallet.
To give their frustrations and constructive criticisms. You have made this decision and you have failed a lot of players. Whenever I see behavior talk on their videos, they seem to pride themselves for being open, diverse, and understanding of people. But in reality, they fail to amuse me. Because they will gladly sit by and remain silent, knowing full well there is a huge 1/3 of the player base disappointed in the decisions and the game you are giving them nothing to work with. Yes, I am speaking of the killer players. You know, the one person. Yes, there are 4 survivors to 1 killer, but without that 1 killer, the game cannot start and will not work.
I said this in my DVDs full of hypocrites video. What people don't realise is there's 1 killer to 4 survivors. And being bombarded with messages, and this goes to the killer anxiety thing, being bombarded with messages or ganged up on by 3 or 4 people in the endgame chat, even 2 people in the endgame chat, is fucking bullying. I don't care what you say, it is bullying. You are taking the one person who upset you slightly for whatever reason in a fucking video game and you are bullying them.
Although there are more survivors than killers, it is integral to have killers, otherwise the entire function of the game breaks. What survivor will enjoy buying your cosmetics when there is no match to play? You are playing with literal fire. And on another note, I hate how they are remaining silent on bullying. Of fucking course killers are being bullied.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I agree.
And I do not want to hear how survivors get bullied when compared to killer. It feels 10 times worse. I do want to say something for the entitled survivor mains out there. Being tunneled at whatever gens will never feel as oppressive as losing a game and getting mocked throughout by everyone whilst playing killer. To then be degraded in the endgame chat, and even worse, stalked outside of the game by maniacs. We will talk about tunneling and slugging shortly, but right now I want to double down on behavior remaining silent. Behavior. If you have stats and info on how many times a survivor farts, or how far away killers are from hooks, or whatever else, then surely you are aware of the immense bullying killer players receive throughout matches, and especially in the endgame screen.
They're aware, they just don't care. Because the 4 to the 1 buy the cosmetics.
Is one person who is still human. That one killer player is still a human being who deserves to enjoy the game as well as anyone else. They shouldn't be playing your game, being subjected to abuse and bullshit. And
that is such a good point. The killer is a human being, and this is why I try to be nice to killers in my matches. I will give the killer the kill. If they've had a really bad match, I will stay behind and die with them because they deserve it. I've seen people just absolutely bullying killers for no fucking reason, just because they can. And do they think they're clever? That's the thing, they think they're clever, they think they're really good at the game. And you look at their perks at the end and they'll be like, windows of opportunity, dead hard, you know, decisive strike. Take off your perks and then bully the killer.
Them being told to off themselves and whatever else survivors want to do to the one person on their own. You are actively overseeing 4 people degrade.
I just realised I might be the most killer-sided the most killer-sided survivor main ever.
And abuse the one. That is not something you should remain silent on. But hey, it's okay guys, because in the latest 2v8 survey just a few days ago, behavior gave half of the survey to killers to get their feedback finally. Yeah. No. Basically 95% of that survey was for survivors, even asking which killers are annoying to go against. Do you know what they gave killers in this? One tiny little box at the end titled Other, where killers could say something. Wow. Thanks, behavior. You really know how to make your entire community feel heard.
I think we did a pretty good job so far.
No, it's not good enough. You are remaining silent, which speaks volumes. You are showing a lack of respect for your killer player base, and if you carry on, this will be your downfall. Sit there and continue to do it, and watch people get louder towards your bullshit. The past so many surveys did nothing to give killers a voice. Until you start hearing everyone out in your player base and community, you will not help this situation. As players who have paid for your game, we have a right to be heard and voice our frustrations without bias or favoritism. Now, Let me move over to tunneling and slugging. If you are a survivor main and are still here hate watching by chance, and you have cried about slugging and tunneling,
Oh, I'm not hate watching. I'm absolutely loving this. This is great.
2 words for you: skill issue. Now, why would I say it's a skill issue? Because when I play Survivor, I know I am 100% responsible for at least my own contributions. Meaning, if I can give the killer a good run, that will benefit my team. If I suck ass and get downed in 15 seconds, that's on me. That's my experience not being enough and needing more practice. It's not my team's fault. It's certainly not the killer's fault. It's my fault. When I started out as Survivor, I sucked. I was cheeks, bro. And I still have plenty of moments in messing up too. But you know what? Do you want to know what made me actually get better? I took windows of opportunity off and started to learn the fucking game.
I did the exact same thing. You've probably heard of him, Grey Letters. I used to be in his Twitch a lot, and he would talk about, this is when I first started the game, and he'd talk a lot about windows of opportunity, how bullshit it was, and I thought to myself, do you know what? He's absolutely right. If you want to get better at this game, take off windows of opportunity. Learn the maps. Learn the tiles. They're not that difficult. They're all structured pretty much the same. Obviously, different maps have different things, but you'll open yourself a perk slot. You will give yourself a perk slot that you've never ever had to put on another probably bullshit perk, but no, another fun perk, you know, something you'll enjoy, that you've never tried before. You will open it up, open your horizons. Take off windows.
Oh my god, I know. I started to welcome being tunneled. Why? Because I could be in chase, arguably the best part of Dead by Daylight. Yes, if you want to play Gen Simulator and just try to hit skill checks, that's fine, but the chase to me is the best part. The theme, the music, the action, it's the joy of the horror, and guess what? The more I get tunneled, the better I got. It allowed me to get calmer in chase, it allowed me to learn check spots, it allowed me to learn the killers better and win more 50-50s. I still have plenty of moments where I mess up, but that's fine because we don't win them all. I am sick of survivors thinking it is acceptable to tell someone to jump off a cliff because they tunneled somebody. It's a fucking skill issue. And anyway, why do killers tunnel?
Part of the reason I don't stream anymore on Twitch is because of this. Because of having people come into my chat and KYS, you know, and other awful things. I do suffer from anxiety, like I've already stated. It's the thing is, when I play Survivor, I said this also in my DBDs full of hypocrites videos. A video, not plural, whatever. Anxious, sorry. Sorry, I'm getting anxious. I've lost my point. 1 second. I think I found my point. Sorry, I had to go back and look. I have ADHD. I struggle sometimes. It's real. That when I play killer, I will have several survivors come into my chat and attack me. When I play survivor, the killer hardly ever comes in and says anything negative. They either come in and say GG or don't come in at all. Unless they've been a toxic little piece of shit and they just want to come in and wind you up. And in that case, it's just like, yeah, okay, GG, mate, well done. You know, it's a fucking game. Get over it.
Because we don't win them all. I am sick of survivors thinking it is acceptable to tell someone to jump off a cliff because they tunneled somebody. It's a fucking skill issue. And anyway, why do killers tunnel? Why? Because the games go far too quickly. I know behaviour, fucking hell, grab a pen and write it down. Gens need to be looked at. Gens can go so incredibly fast that if the killer doesn't get someone out of the game quickly...
Now, I'm not sure if this was a cheater or not, but I played 2v8 with my friend yesterday, and 5 gens popped in 1 minute 30 seconds. How is that even fucking possible behaviour? Toolboxes need to be looked at. Brand new parts need to be like the syringes, where they consume it. Built to last needs to be re-fucking worked. It's ridiculous that you can fill a commodious toolbox with extra charges 3 times. Gen speed perks need to be looked at. Now, killers tunneling straight off hook, every single hook at 5 gens, absolutely ridiculous. But when a killer gets down to 1 or 2 gens, the only option they have left is to tunnel. They need the pressure. Why? Because the gen speeds are too quick. You can run 4 slowdown perks, but as he said, unless you can get a down, then it's useless.
someone out of the game quickly, they stand one of the worst chances at having an attempt at winning. Logically, it makes sense to tunnel. Again, why does it make logical sense? Because bringing the game down from a 4v1 to a 3v1 is logically the correct way to bring the game closer to your favour. It's the same as survivors splitting up on multiple generators rather than all on the same. It's the kind of critical thinking. If 3 survivors are on 3 different gens whilst one is in chase, that means 3 gens could pop, which would be crazy pressure against the killer. You could call that efficient. And so, if the killer gets someone out of the game to make it a 3v1, it is simply the killer playing efficiently as well.
This I agree with to an extent. I agree with it to when there's 1 or 2 gens and you need the pressure, fair enough. But hard tunneling at 5 gens is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, you cannot say that's not a skill issue on the killer's part.
No, the killer isn't a piece of shit. No, they do not hate you. They just want to win in a player versus player game. That's it. So if we are ever going to remotely look into tunneling, we should also look at gens. Because if a killer plays efficient, everybody cries. If a survivor plays efficient, there is no issue. Well, sorry, there is an issue. And do you want to know what it is? The fucking bias. There is only one role in this game that requires everything from you and is extremely punishing. That is the killer role. In a recent video from Behavior, the devs looked so out of touch, not even knowing why everyone was screaming pallets to them during their
This was an actual it was an actual joke. Like, if the devs had actually fucking played one game on the game, they would understand why people were shouting pallets, but they clearly haven't. Now, in this guy's defense, I don't know his name, he did look very uncomfortable. He did look like he didn't want to be there, and he did look very anxious. So I kind of give him a tiny bit of a pass on that, but not fucking really, because you should know your game. You should know why people are shouting pallets.
talk about slugging on Gideon Meat Plant. They're like, oh, people like pallets, I guess. I don't know why Gideon is the map people are slugged the most. You literally just outed yourselves. You quite literally just proved that you do not understand your own game. Everyone knows that Gideon is Pallet City, and the chances of survivors going down under a pallet are massive, which means killers have to slug because there is always a chance people are waiting for a pallet save. It's so simple, yet absolutely baffling that the devs didn't know this. I want to talk positive about the devs. Believe it or not, I actually really do. But the problem is, they don't make it easy to do so. This whole year was supposed to be the start of the Quality of Life initiative. Well, Behavior, when are we starting it? Because it's nearly December of 25 and we're still fucked. The vast amount of killer bugs, some genuinely unplayable, the gen speeds, the constant silence, and even the goddamn pallet density update, it's almost like Behavior are just happy to press the nuclear button against killers as a whole. Tunneling, slugging, and whatever else you want to call efficient strategies are just part of the game. It's part of a PvP game, and it would be a lot better for Behavior to start actually helping killers with gens.
I will say this now. Decent survivors do not want this. They do not want all this hand-holding. It is only the crybaby bully squads that want this because they can't win without it. People who play the game to enjoy it and have fun and know how to play the game don't need their handheld.
And improving and adding better tutorials for survivors. Educate your player base of survivors to understand what tunneling is, what slugging is, how to avoid it, how to learn to get better at dealing with it, and above all, make sure that they are aware that they are simply efficient playstyles and used to try to have the best possible chances of winning. Then you can move past this shit and start actually fixing your game and stop wasting precious time trying to fix something that just doesn't need to be touched. 90% of the killer roster is severely hurt by the recent pallet density update. They talk all the time about survivors who need their time respected.
See yellow, run to fucking yellow. It's that simple. We didn't need all these extra pallets. Okay, I do understand some maps were dead and there was like a select few that did need a few extra pallets, but some of the realms that you've added these extra pallets on is just, it's fucking ridiculous. I don't know how else to describe it. It's ridiculous.
But what about the killer? Oh, you like Ghostface? You're a Ghostface main. Haha, fuck you. Enjoy breaking 30 pallets and getting a 1k if you're lucky. Like, what are we doing? The most frustrating part of all of this? There is genuinely ways behavior could fix a lot of this and bring some kind of magic back, but they aren't, and it's that what makes it harder for me to remain in a state of being hopeful. I do try my best to speak highly of DBD. I want the game to thrive, desperately. I love Dead by Daylight, but the devs are letting us down, and it's time to get with it. Killers do not deserve to be left in the dark. They're still human. They are still people who have given you money and given you their time. They deserve the same as everybody else.
1000%. 1000%. They do. They are people. They are people behind the screen. They deserve to have fun in this game as well.
It just seems to me like behavior expect killers to bend to everything that is happening and sweat their balls off to get basically nothing, whereas survivors cry and get given more handholding as an easy fix.
Again, yep. I can't argue with it. Even as a survivor main, I can't argue with it.
Besides, survivors will only continue to be in killers' faces when they do not fear them. If you take a brand new survivor player, brand new to Dead by Daylight, with no understanding of perks or anything like that, they will probably have an element of fear. They will be scared. They won't know whose terror radius that killer is. They will have that innate survivor fear that they are lost in a deadly world. However, you then take a survivor who...
And the survivors that are up in your face are guaranteed to be the ones with DS or the ones that will DC as soon as the game doesn't go their way. I have a video of this from a game I played recently as an example. I literally load into the match and get into my first chase and they're already trying to body block me. I down the UE, but I know the Shiver is waiting by for a flashlight save, so I then go and down the Shiver. I go around, check the gens, and Shiver is unhooked. I go back to check the hook, and here is where Shiver wants to use her DS aggressively.
What happened?
Now, because I know Shiver's got DS, by the way she's acting, and because I don't pick her up straight away, by the way I had to slug in this situation, they both DC. Why? Because they can't bully me.
Wow.
I let the lorry go in the end because she didn't do anything wrong. She was just playing the game normally. Now tell me, what else was I supposed to do in this situation?
Knows decisive strike can be used aggressively and whatnot, and suddenly you have survivors who do not care and will BM and act hard and toxic towards the killer, and God forbid the killer actually manages to down them and hurt their plan of using their second chance perks aggressively, because then the survivor simply DCs. Says a whole heap of evil things in the endgame chat to the killer whilst reporting the killer for tunneling and whatever else, which more devs see, and just the cycle continues. It's exhausting. You are empowering survivors to feel like they can...
Killer is exhausting. It really is. I can only play a handful of games of Killer before I get really tired. I am a Survivor man, I understand. Killer is probably not as easy for me as Survivor is, but I can play for hours on Survivor and not get tired. What does that tell you? You're using a lot of brain power to play Killer. Survivor is... I'm not saying it's easy, it's not. Otherwise, I wouldn't play it. But it doesn't require anywhere near as much cognitive thinking as Killer does. It doesn't require as much strategy as Killer does, or micromanaging, or the macro gameplay. Yeah. So Killer genuinely is a lot more tiring than Survivor, in my opinion.
Be cocky towards the killer, which directly diminishes the meaning of power roll. There is no power roll or power fantasy when a Dwight with dead hard and decisive strike does not give a shit and just pre-drops 8 pallets against you and then mocks you at every chance. It's ridiculous. Not to mention, we should also be looking at survivors with this whole slugging and tunneling shit, because half of the time survivors cause the problems. They say they hate slugging, but will bring builds to sabotage the killer hooks.
Saboing is one thing, it's the killer is forced to slug. It's the only way to win sometimes with Sabo. Well, most of the time. If a coordinated Sabo squad is working together really well, the only way to win is to slug. But also DS. People will force DS. So the only way you can handle that situation is to 1, slug them, or 2, eat the DS. And you'll know they've got DS because they'll be right up in your face.
So that when the killer pushes on and slugs to gain pressure, they scream and cry in the endgame chat. You quite literally catered that match towards that playstyle yourselves, and then throw a tantrum as soon as the killer works around your little plan. This needs to be addressed. For too long, killer players have had to deal with silence from the devs and insults from entitled survivor mains. I want to take a moment to give a shout out to somebody, Blue Dream 47. I have added his channel to the description and in the pinned comment. He has a wonderful video as well, which goes further into today's frustrations and highlights a lot of key pain points within the killer side of the game.
I have seen this video. Blue Dream is very good. I have played with Blue Dream and he's on my friends list. I used to watch his stuff a lot. He's a Pyramid Head man. I don't know if he still is, but I know he's a P100 Pyramid Head. You should watch this video. I might do a reaction to this video.
On top of that, he is a real nice dude and deserves a lot of love, so make sure you go and check him out. If this continues, it will become Blight by Daylight, Nurse by Daylight, and survivors will have a real reason to bitch. We are not incentivizing survivors to do anything. We are silencing killers and expecting them to adapt to everything. If you want to be good at killer, you have to put the time in. You have to learn that killer, their power, their strengths, their weaknesses. You have to put that grind in. You have to do that of your own free will. And what about survivors? Well, how can you even begin to incentivize them to learn anything, such as looping or proper pallet control, whilst preserving their resources, when you simply add a fuck ton of pallets to most maps?
Yeah, every killer has a different power that you have to learn. Every survivor is exactly the same. It's a skin. I said it.
This just incentivizes survivors to drop more pallets and nothing else. So survivors just get back scratches whilst the killer is forced to go against all the bullshit, and oh my god, if the killer even dares complain and makes one valid point, it's, oh my god, killers are crying, where? No. Killers have a right to be heard, and now more than ever. So I'll say this. If you are a killer player and you have felt anything like killer anxiety, or let down, or left out, or like you're the problem, you are not alone. One more time, if you want a place to feel accepted, please consider joining our Discord and Twitch. I promise our community will make you feel heard. That's all I have time for today, gamers, but here is my main message. You do matter. Your fun is just as important, and no, you do not deserve to be belittled and silenced whenever you have the urge to open up about these things. The devs need to start communicating with everyone, not just one side. I thank you for your time again. Take it easy, friends, and I'll see you in the next one.
10 out of 10. I can't argue with him. What he's saying is actually true. It's 100% true. And if you are a survivor man and you don't think that's true, then you're deluded. I'm sorry, I said it. Thank you very much, Refined, for pointing all this out. I have seen some of your other videos, they're very good. I'm so glad that someone is speaking up for killer anxiety, because it is a real thing. Just know that not all survivors are against you as killers. Some of us do care about your fun too. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed. As I said, this is my first reaction video. Go easy on me.